And to start our official meeting, if you join me with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I can now call this Board of County Commissioners meeting of March 6, 2020 to order. And prior to getting started, Board, I would like to entertain a motion that we amend the Clermont County Board of County Commissioners Rules of Procedure for today's regular session in and as it relates to Article 3, Agenda Preparation. The rule states that each member will receive a copy of the draft agenda for regular sessions at least 3 days prior to a regular session. In accordance with Article 7, Amendment of Rules, a rule may be temporarily suspended by a majority vote of the board. And I would ask that that rule be suspended just for this meeting. We did not receive an agenda 3 days in advance. We only had it 1 day in advance, and part of that was probably due to my absence here, and we apologize for that. Do I have a motion to amend the rule for today?
I make a motion we temporarily suspend the rule regarding receiving the minutes 3 days in advance.
A second.
It's been moved and received a second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Judy. We can?
You said minutes and you meant agenda, didn't you?
We did, yes. I meant agenda. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Mr.
Correction,
right.
agenda.
Mr. Humphrey?
Yes.
Mrs. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. So we'll move to B, approval of regular session minutes of February 26, 2020. I know you've had those minutes and had an opportunity to review them and ask questions or have any corrections made. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of February 26, 2020?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Been moved and received a second. Roll call, Judy.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. Due to time constraints, I'd like to move item H, county and elected official discussion, up to our slot right now. I know as I was just in Washington, there's been a lot of concern about the coronavirus. I understand that we have some representatives today here from our health administration that would like to address the board and give us an update.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
You bet.
You're welcome. So we've been a little busy, so
I know.
I'm happy to be here on it. So for those of you who may not know, I'm Julianne Nesbitt. I'm the Health Commissioner with Clermont County Public Health. So I just want to talk to you briefly today a little bit about what's going on. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about coronavirus itself because I feel like at this point most people kind of get the basics of what's going on. If there are specific questions, I'm happy to answer those. I want to talk a little bit about kind of the situation report as far as what's going on here in Clermont County and what we are doing on it. So just to be really upfront, we are not aware of community spread at this time in Ohio or Clermont County, but that can change literally like 10 seconds from now. So I just think people really need to be aware of what's going on. We are encouraging people to prepare, but not panic. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that can be done. So right now, Ohio has, as of when I checked the data this morning, but it does change at 2 o'clock, there were 3 persons under investigation. There have been 7 of those who have been tested and then deemed to be negative at this time. And then there are approximately 255 people across the state who are under public health supervision, meaning they have traveled to an area or have had contact with an individual where they're kind of to a point where public health is monitoring them for symptoms. So for us here, Clermont County Public Health, we actually went into incident command on January 28th. So our reason for really doing that is it's a way of planning for us. So if you're familiar with the incident command system, it's how you kind of deal with an event. For public health, that looks very, very different than what it looks like for police or fire. They have like one event and there's like one thing. For us, we can be in ICS for a very long period of time. We were in ICS for our statewide hepatitis A outbreak for 18 months. So for us, we're in it for the long haul, but it does help us kind of prepare, make sure that we're doing things. We come together and have planning meetings and make sure that there are things going on to make sure we have the capacity and everything in place to be able to deal with it. So again, right now the risk in our community is still very, very low. The risk of influenza is higher at this point. So about 18,000 people have died across the country from flu this season. What we track in Clermont County are hospitalizations and pediatric deaths. We have had no pediatric deaths, but we've had about 112 hospitalizations from influenza over this flu season, so from fall up until now. And flu season goes all the way through May. So we do encourage people, if they have not been vaccinated against the flu, you can still do that. It's a good thing to do. So when this first came out, the Dr. Acton, the director of the Ohio Department of Health, made COVID-19, which is what it is called now, a Class A reportable disease. So Class A diseases have to be reported to the health department within 24 hours on it. Right now, what they're saying on coronavirus, the COVID-19, is immediately. So that means if a healthcare provider or a lab is made aware of any of the information, they're required to report it to the health department. So just as kind of an idea, we do this every day. So public health, if we are doing what we should be doing on it, you typically, in the realm of communicable disease, never hear from us and never see us. We kind of work silently in the background. In 2019, we had 1,684 communicable disease reports submitted to us. It depends on the disease as far as what level we respond to. Some of those maybe just be a letter to the individual, making sure they're aware of it, asking them to follow up with the provider. In other cases, we're contacting every person that person was in contact with during the time that they were communicable. And there may be prophylaxis of some sort where we may go out and ask them to get vaccinated or take medication or do something, or we may simply be tracking them and asking them to look for signs and symptoms. So these are things we do every day. I have a nursing staff, we have an epidemiologist on staff and a communicable disease nurse, and these are just things that we do. So, right after we went into incident command, we went ahead and kind of had a partner planning meeting. Typically it was meant for some of our first responders to make sure that they were aware of what's going on, make sure they're getting the guidance up to date for them to be able to protect themselves with it, talking to schools and coroner's office and other stakeholders and partners that we have as we kind of move through things on it. We as public health, we are in constant communication with the Ohio Department of Health. We have calls twice a week with them. There are also CDC calls that we participate in, and me and several of my staff were at the Governor's Summit yesterday in Columbus. So as public health, we are monitoring travelers that may come from areas that are impacted during it. We do deal with quarantine and isolation if necessary on it, and right now there is coordination with anybody that would be suspect cases to be able to do testing. Testing is an issue right now because the capacity is simply not there yet. We're hopeful to hear that the Ohio Department of Health Laboratory will be able to test very, very soon. But right now in Ohio, all samples have to go through local health department. We ship to ODH, they ship to CDC, and there's a time lag in that, so it makes it kind of drawing the process out even longer with it. So hopefully when ODH can test, there will be faster turnaround times, and then additionally, we've been made aware that private labs are going to start to come online and should be able to do some testing also with that. All right, so I do want to talk a little bit about prevention and what people can do now to kind of protect themselves. So there is no vaccine. We are being told it's probably going to take up to a year to be able to manufacture vaccine in large enough quantity to be able to give it out to the public. With that, I think we'll continue to hear more, as that evolves, as vaccine manufacturers are gearing up and trying to do that. We really do want to encourage people to simply be aware and prepare, but don't panic. There really is no reason to at this point. We want to encourage people to be compassionate. So we will likely get community spread at some point. It's just really inevitable. And we really want people to make sure that they're checking on their loved ones. If someone needs a caregiver, check on your neighbors. Just making sure that you're being compassionate and helping each other out while still protecting yourself. So really, the best way to protect yourself is what we say for most viruses that are out there that are respiratory on it. So we want people to stay home if they're sick. Washing hands frequently. Wash your hands first before you reach for the hand sanitizer. The hand sanitizer is there when you don't have soap and water on it. So make sure you're washing your hands. You want that friction. You don't necessarily get that with hand sanitizer. You want the friction, the soap, and washing everything away. So we are definitely encouraging it. And then one of the hardest things, and you'll see all of us doing, is stop touching, your mucous membrane, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, and we all do it. It's really hard to do. But again, every time you're touching something and you're going and touching your face, you run the risk of infecting yourself. Covering coughs and sneezes. So again, proper etiquette, sneeze into your sleeve, not on your neighbor. So just some good common sense practices about that. We've reached out through the chamber to the businesses, encouraging them to look at continuity of operations plans that they may have in place, thinking about what would happen if their employees become ill, what happens if you have reduced capacity with that, telework policies, sick leave policies, things that people need to consider as far as doing day-to-day business. The public, there is a really great checklist from the Ohio Department of Health, and actually it's going to be on our website. All right, I can't see the cursor. Where's it at?
Go that way.
Okay, watch this. Here's my thing. I'm going to go do it this way because I'm not seeing the cursor up here. Okay, I'm not seeing it on this one either. All right. Oh, wait. I'm technical assistance. Sorry. If it's there, I just can't see it. So,
I don't see it either.
okay, I'm playing blind there. That's okay though. So, steal it from me. There is a household checklist. It is actually on our website. I'm going to give you the resources there, but the household preparedness checklist is there. We would encourage individuals to take a look at it. Think about what you would do within your own family. As far as things, we don't want people hoarding supplies. So we've all, heard about the news media. Kroger's has put the lockdown on how many things that we can purchase from it. We don't want people hoarding. We just want them preparing on it. And there's a difference. So it's okay to put an extra container of sanitizer wipe in your cart for the week, or maybe an extra thing of, cleaning supplies. But we don't necessarily need to be buying everything out about it. I do want to take a second and talk about masks because that is kind of a common misconception with the public on it. We do not encourage really anyone in the public wearing masks. So the surgical type masks that you see, kind of like the pleated type ones, those are really meant for sick individuals to keep their respiratory droplets from spreading to others. You'll see when you go in to the emergency room or urgent care, there's normally a station, there's normally some hand sanitizer there, and there will be masks. And they'll ask people, particularly during flu season, you see it up, and they'll ask them to mask themselves so that they're not spreading to anybody else in the waiting room. N95 masks, which are more of the molded type masks, have to be fit tested to the person on it. When they are not fit tested properly, people touch, again, you're touching your hands and your face and everything, and you're running the risk of contaminating yourself, and that's really not protecting you if it's not actually sealed. Obviously, that is what healthcare workers are currently, that is the current recommendation for them, and we do want to make sure that our healthcare workers have enough supply with that. So a few of the resources, I would say you want to scroll from now on, so if you'll click back. This is our website that, so ccphohio.org. You can go to our website. We are keeping our frequently asked questions on our website up to date. So as recommendations change, we will have information up there. The Ohio Department of Health's website link is also off of this page. They have a lot of really good resources and recommendations, a lot of guidance out there for schools, daycare centers. See, I gave you completely different numbers, so it's already changed. There's a lot of good guidance on there. You can go directly to Ohio's website. It is at www.coronavirus.ohio.gov is their direct website. And then additionally to CDC at cdc.gov. There are some differences, though, in what's happening. CDC is opening up testing guidance because in some areas there is more capacity, but in Ohio there is not right now. So Ohio is still sticking with the prior guidance on testing. So there is some difference in information, but you just have to think about it's because there are resource limitations. Again, we're hoping once ODH lab opens up and then private labs open up, that capacity will be there with that. But we basically go off of their recommendations on it. So I think one of the last things, we do get a lot of, my staff is obviously dealing with a lot of calls that are coming in. Their ODH has just opened up today. I found out on the way here, they have opened up their call center. We had talked about it at some point, but we really didn't. We were waiting because we were aware they were going to open up a statewide call center. So the ODH call center is at 1-833-427-5634, which ends up being their little kind of acronym for that is 1-833-4-ASK-ODH. So that is, people from general public who just have questions can call and talk to them. It is 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. We do encourage them to call that number. That leaves my resources locally to be able to deal with physicians and other people that we need to kind of deal with. So anybody who has just general questions and concerns, we get lots of questions about travel and different things, they can reach out and contact that phone number. So again, I just really want to reiterate that the risk is low. Practicing those good hygiene practices of hand washing and covering our coughs, staying at home if we're sick, are kind of really the best things that we can do. So any questions I'm happy to take from anybody.
Just one. What is the time frame of the virus? I know a lot of times when you're talking about flu viruses, they start out in another country. By the time they get through hundreds and hundreds of people, that virus strain changes, weakens. As it's broke down by each immune system, it becomes something different. What do they, any projections on that with this particular strain of virus?
So I think it's just too early to see. You're correct. They can do that. I think as they look, when they look at like sequencing the gene for it and doing the testing to be able to confirm whether or not vaccines will work, I think there may be additional information that will come out about that, as we kind of move through. I just think we don't have enough information. I think the other thing that does make it difficult is it's just happened so quickly and in different countries, and sometimes you do have to take just the demographics of what's going on into consideration as far as their healthcare system on it, although I think China's done a fantastic job. I mean, the fact that you can throw up a hospital in about 24 hours is pretty darn amazing, to be able to treat people. You have to also think there's lots and lots of people in closer together. So I'm not sure how it's going to play out here in the United States or here in Clermont County. I think we will kind of have to see how things evolve. We'll certainly be involved. I do want to give kudos to EMA also and offer if they have anything else to speak. They have been working with us side by side as we've been working through resources. They have been able to help us out with some things that frees up my staff to do some other things. So I do want to thank the commissioners for giving us that resource to be able to help us out.
Okay.
All right.
Pam, do you want to say anything? No, sorry. Okay, that's all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move to C, public participation. We've reached the public participation section of the agenda. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address the board during this time, the board does not answer questions or engage in debate. The commissioners are not expected to comment on matters brought to the board during this time. Each speaker will speak only once and be recognized by the board president before speaking. In accordance with the board's rules, the comments are limited to 5 minutes. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board? Sure. State your name and address.
I am, as you know, Chris Hicks from 444 Woodward Court, Cincinnati, Ohio. By now, people probably have my address memorized. I appreciated the update on the coronavirus. I texted my wife because she told me two things. I like sometimes humor, not to make light of something, can help people to remember something. And she told me two things yesterday, and I couldn't remember them. One was to wash your hands like you have hot sauce on them and you need to put your contacts in. And the second one is wash your hands like you have a stamp on them that you don't want your mom to see from a bar that you went to. So I think those really help to point up the importance of washing related to coronavirus. I'm here, though, to talk just very quickly about candidate forums. And I apologize for having to come here to do it, but some people avoid the discussion and the topic relentlessly. Today there was a press conference where two Clermont County Republican endorsed candidates, Joe Dills and Adam Byrd, both appeared and took questions from the press. They have also each appeared in one candidate forum in this election cycle. Similarly, David Ubel, who's an endorsed GOP Clermont candidate, he's appeared in two candidate forums this cycle. I'm a member of the Party of Lincoln, where we celebrate the Lincoln-Douglas debates. And we also remember that from the Gettysburg Address that government is of, for, and by the people. And I think it's disgraceful that candidates avoid any participation in candidate forums. Mr. Painter, sitting here, has said no to the League of Women Voters Forum. He said no to the Union Township Republican Party Forum. He said no to a forum that took place in Miami Township hosted by Jason Williams from the Cincinnati Enquirer. And there is one more opportunity, and I think it's probably the last opportunity unless Mr. Painter wants to change his tune. That opportunity is this Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. at RJ Cinema, which people might not know where that is. That is right next to Jungle Gyms. It's a great venue. And all 5 commissioner candidates are invited. There's only, as far as I can tell, there's only two candidates that are endorsed for office by the Clermont County Republican Party who have not participated in any candidate forums, and that would be Mr. Painter and his also running for County Commissioner Bonnie Batchelor. Hopefully they will both show up. And I apologize for having to come here and make this point, but when people run away and will not appear in public to answer questions or take questions from the public or make the statements they want to make in public, then that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate for our democracy. It's unfortunate for our county. Our citizens deserve better than candidates that run from any public interaction and forums. So 7 o'clock this Saturday, RJ Cinema. It's hosted by Chip Hart, who is, runs a 700 WLW show called Big Outdoors, and I'm sure he'll be a great moderator and make it fun. He's got a great sense of humor. So thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Anyone else?
Board, I'd like to be recognized as a person from the public to speak from the podium today and have my 5 minutes, if I would be granted.
I will take your position as chairman.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is David Painter. I live at 1196 Rebel Ridge Road. And this morning I'd like to talk to you about candidate forums. And I'd also like to talk to you about First Amendment speech. If you didn't know, there are two suits that are ongoing here in Clermont County right now. One is in front of one of our common pleas judges that is currently determining what attorney fees would be that the next meeting is for on March the 28th. The second piece of legal instrument that's ongoing is a case PC 00001, and it's about coffee theft in office. And so since Mr. Hicks has so graciously told everybody my reluctance to come out in candidate forums, I just want to make sure that you know that I'm represented by legal representation and that my attorney has instructed me not to engage in discussing that case until such time that it has cleared its way through the court system. So thank you very much. Thanks for the time, Mr. Humphrey.
Anyone else? Mr. Painter,
Yes.
it's your floor.
Thank you. The consent agenda. Consent agenda has been prepared for you. I know you've had a chance to review it and had it in advance. Do I have a motion to, well, first, are there any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda for further conversation or discussion? Okay. Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as provided.
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda as provided.
A second?
It's been moved and received a second. Roll call, Judy.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mrs. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. And we'll move to the non-consent agenda, which starts on page 12. With page 6, item 12. Recommendation of the Board of County Commissioners adopt resolution number 033-20, resolving to approve payment vendors in the total amount of $2,058,642.04, as set forth in the BCC approval invoice reports for the checks dated March 6, 2020, BCC directed prepaid invoice reports, and the procurement card transaction report is presented by the county auditor on 3/4/2020. And further authorizing the county auditor to issue warrants for the same pursuant to 319.16 of the Ohio Revised Code. Do I have a motion to pay the bills?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
It's been moved and received a second. Roll call, Judy.
Mrs. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. Item 13. Hi, Connie.
Hello, Connie Tigg with the Department of Job and Family Services. Item number 13 is the recommendation of Timothy Dick, Director of the Department of Job and Family Services, with the concurrence of Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to execute a memorandum of understanding by and between the Department of Job and Family Services and Clermont County Family and Children First, Batavia, Ohio, whose administrative agent is the Clermont County Department of Job and Family Services, relative to the local designation of 5% of the state fiscal year 2020 allocation for the multi-system youth program from the Department of Job and Family Services Children Protective Services Division to the Clermont County Family and Children First in the amount of $14,917.10 to support the provision of services to families and children in Clermont County, Ohio, pursuant to the terms and conditions specified therein and in compliance with OAC 5101-25401, Section B4.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 13. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
A second?
Been moved and received a second. Any conversation or discussion for
I have a
Connie?
question. Is the 5% a statutory number, or could that vary year to year?
It's statutory, and next year it's going to be 10%.
Oh, okay.
Anything further? Roll call, Judy.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mrs. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. Thanks, Connie. Item 14.
Good afternoon, Craig Reisner, County Engineer's Office. Item number 14 is recommendation of Jeremy Evans, County Engineer, with concurrence of Thomas Eigel, County Administrator, to accept the following grant and assignment of permanent easement and existing right-of-way easements previously granted to the Clermont County Transportation Improvement District for roadway purposes necessary for project 90210 Wolfpen Pleasant Hill Road, and to acknowledge that any and all compensation relative to the following easements has been satisfied by the Clermont County Transportation Improvement District. This is in compliance with the Transportation Improvement District Resolution number 2019-10, ratified 8/9/2019. These are easements that were purchased by the Transportation Improvement District and need to be transferred to the Board of County Commissioners. There's approximately 12 parcels with existing right-of-way easements and permanent highway easements.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 14. Do I have a motion for approval?
I will make that motion.
Second.
Been moved and received a second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Judy.
Mrs. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. Item 15.
Item 15 is recommendation of Jeremy Evans, County Engineer, with concurrence of Thomas Eigel, County Administrator, to execute record plat number 6293203 for the replat of lots in the following subdivision in Miami Township. This is Cross Creek Meadow subdivision. Replat of lot number 1241 and 42, and the purpose is to create new lot number 12A.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 15. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
I will second.
Been moved and second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Judy.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mrs. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. Item 16.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Good afternoon. I'm Steve Scott, the County Building Inspector. It is my recommendation as the County Building Inspector, Department of Community and Economic Development, Building Inspection Division with the concurrence of Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator, to appoint the following individuals to serve on the Clermont County Airport Zoning Board of Appeals, Flood Damage Prevention Variance Board, and Water Management and Sediment Control Regulations Variance Appeals Board for the terms as outlined below. Rose M. Coors and Paul Larry Hatfield to serve on these boards from April 7th, 2020 through April 6th of 2023.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 16. Do I have a motion for approval?
I will make the motion.
Second.
It's been moved and received a second. Any conversation or discussion? Roll call, Judy.
Mrs. Corcoran. Mr. Humphrey.
Aye.
Mr. Painter.
Yes. Thank you. Item 17.
Taylor Corbett with the Clermont County Community and Economic Development. This is a recommendation to appoint the following individuals to serve on the Clermont County Planning Commission for the terms outlined below pursuant in Section 713.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Mark Burgess, a representative of Miami Township, and Donna Can, a representative of Pierce Township. Shall serve from 03/31/2020 through 03/30/2023.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 17. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
I'll second.
Been moved, received a second. Discussion?
Both really good people. Thank you.
Thank
Roll
you.
call, Judy.
Mr. Humphrey.
Aye.
Mrs. Corcoran.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes. Thank you. Tom, any items for add-ons?
We don't have any additions to the agenda.
Then we'll go to G. Requesting an executive session pursuant to Section 121.22 G1, G2, and G3 of the Ohio Revised Code. To first, consider the employment or dismissal of one or more public employees. Second, to consider the purchase of property for public purposes, the sale of property at competitive bidding, or the sale or other disposition of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use property in accordance with Section 505.10 of the Ohio Revised Code. And third, to confer with the prosecuting attorney regarding pending or imminent litigation, respectively. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Commissioner Painter, I'm sorry to interrupt. We had something come up recently. I was wondering if we could add the word compensation to G1, please.
Okay. To G1? Okay. So to consider the employment, dismissal, or compensation of one or more public employees?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I stand corrected. Do I have a motion to move into executive session?
I will make that motion.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Roll call, Judy.
Mrs. Corcoran.
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey.
Aye.
Mr. Painter.
Yes. We will proceed into executive session. We will return and we will conduct further business. Thank you. We've returned from executive session. There were no actions or decisions made, and we are back to regular session. And I would ask, are there any additions to the agenda, Tom, at this time?
We have a One Ohio Memorandum of Understanding for the board's consideration, as well as 3 personnel actions in the Department of Public Safety Services.
Board, you've heard the request to amend the agenda and to add some add-ons.
So it's 4 add-ons altogether.
Yes, sir.
It is. Do I have a motion to add them?
I do. I make a motion that we add them.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and received a second. Roll call, Judy.
Mr. Humphrey.
Aye.
Mrs. Corcoran.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes. We'll proceed with the add-ons.
Do the personnel actions first. Sandy Todd.
Afternoon, Sandy.
Good afternoon. We have with the Department of Public Safety Services a personnel action for Bonnie Burton, Emergency Resource Technician, administrative leave, non-disciplinary with pay, effective March 4th, 2020. We also have for Bonnie Burton an administrative leave end, leave with pay, effective March 6th, 2020. And then for Bonnie Burton, the termination probationary removal, effective March 6th, 2020.
So the first one for consideration would be for her to be placed on administrative leave. Is that correct? Board, you've heard the request for Bonnie Burton to be placed on administrative leave. Do I have a motion for approval or consideration?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Been moved and received a second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Judy.
Mrs. Corcoran.
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey.
Aye.
Mr. Painter.
Yes. And then I understand the second motion that's before the board is to terminate that leave. Is that correct?
To end the administrative leave
Leave.
pay.
Okay.
So moved.
It's been moved
I'll second.
and received a second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Judy.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mrs. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. And then the third, Sandy?
Is the termination probationary removal.
I'll make that motion.
It's been moved
Second.
and received a second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Judy.
Mrs. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. Thanks, Sandy.
And the One Ohio MOU, Mr. Fountain.
Afternoon, Commissioners. This is a recommendation of Jason Fountain, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney, with the concurrence of Tom Eigel, County Administrator, to adopt Resolution 03420, which approves the terms of the One Ohio Memorandum of Understanding by and among the State of Ohio, the Board of Commissioners of Clermont County, and other State of Ohio local governments, which relates to the equitable and effective distribution of any funds received should the county's pending lawsuit against certain manufacturers, distributors, other entities that have wrongfully sold and distribute opiates throughout the state of Ohio result in settlement, and authorizing the president of the Board of Commissioners of Clermont County to execute any document or take any other necessary action to indicate such agreement and approval to the MOU.
Board, you've heard a request for a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with One Ohio for the opiate litigation settlement. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
By adoption of Resolution 03420?
Yes. Yes. By adoption of Resolution 03420. Have a motion? Yes? And a second?
Yes.
Any conversation or discussion? Roll call, Judy.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mrs. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. Thanks, Jason. Anything else, Tom?
No, sir.
Okay, then I'd like to go back to section H, right? County staff and elected official discussion. I understand that there are some of our county staff here that would like to address the board today. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. The Commissioners tabled an item from the 2/24/2020 agenda regarding the inmate health care and asked for additional data. So Ms. Nichols and Mr. Palmer are here to introduce that data and explain what they've come up with.
Ms. Nichols, I'm here to assist her. She has the same data we shared.
I have a feeling she'll be capable of communicating.
So, I believe that you all received the chart that we put together. My understanding was that you were requesting some additional information on what other counties were doing regarding their health care for inmates. So we did look at the counties around us, and when I say we, I mean Joe, gathered all this information. For the counties around us, which aren't really a good indicator of where we stand, because we have Hamilton County, who is 1,500 inmates, the average inmates annually versus our 400, and then we have Adams, Brown, and Highland County, which are all 70, 40, 50, the numbers are so different that they're not really good indicators. So we also, by we, I mean Joe, looked at Delaware, Warren, and Mahoning County, which are much more similar in size and population, basically. And I think we were able to get some good information. Most of the counties that are similar to Clermont County do contract with a company, similar to Southern Health Partners, which is the company that the jails used for several years. Actually, one of Delaware County does use Southern Health Partners also. WellPath and NavCare are the other two companies. There isn't a lot of information on NavCare. WellPath is a very similar company to Southern Health Partners. And then CCS, which is what Warren County uses, not a lot of information on their division that provides healthcare services for inmates. So I think they're primarily a company that provides medical equipment, I believe. So
But the three companies, CCS, WellPack, and what was the other one?
NavCare,
Avcare.
yeah. So, but WellPath is, again, similar to Southern Health Partners in that their primary focus is inmate and prison healthcare services.
Okay.
So, but just, one of the things we did was we broke it down by annual cost per inmate. And for the numbers that we did have, the counties that contract, that, either contract with a doctor or medical provider, or those that are actually county employees, we weren't able to get good numbers on those. But the ones that have companies, if you look at it, the annual cost per inmate for Clermont County is significantly lower than any of the others. Even looking at Delaware County, which does use Southern Health Partners, there is a significant cost difference. So just looking at the numbers, this contract is very financially beneficial to the county versus, what some of the other counties look like.
And the obvious question that comes up with that is if there's a definite difference in the numbers, I mean, it begs the question, is there a difference in the quality of the service and the quantity of service?
Well, we don't, in this very short amount of time, we weren't able to actually request those contracts and, get all of that information. That's something that would take a significant amount of time. We're dealing with detention centers that, adult detention centers, they're all busy, they're all, they were kind enough to give us the information that we were requesting just with the numbers. I think that one of the reasons that we do have such a good price is that, and this is just a guess, but I think it's the quality of the staff at the jail. The officers work very well with the medical staff. They're easy to work with. Our jail is very clean. So there aren't a lot of healthcare issues other than what they're dealing with that population generally. There isn't anything extra above and beyond. And, I think that being the case, obviously the doctors and the nurses are passing that on to the company and saying, we like this jail, this is a good one. This isn't one where they're saying, you got to get out of this, this is a horrible place to, they like working with the staff at the jail. Again, that's just a guess, but, the costs that they provide, or, in the proposal, they, gave us the number that they thought was appropriate, so.
And where do we stand on the schedule for this particular action? They've extended until
60 days.
okay.
What they've done is they've extended their proposal for 60 days.
Okay.
We have extended the actual contract to
April 1.
April 1st.
Okay.
They have let us know that they need to know as soon as possible because they need to give their vendors the opportunity, or they need to give their vendors notice. They've also indicated that they are not willing to extend the contract any further, so.
And the proposal that we have with them is is it for a 1-year duration and then extensions?
It is until January 31st, 2021, and then there are extensions at that point.
3% escalator for the renewal period effective 2/1, 21, 22, and then 22, 23. And this is something we had tabled, so.
It is.
Do we need to bring this back out?
We're bringing it back out.
All right.
Well, I don't know.
We never
I'll make a
brought it off
motion,
the
we bring
table,
it back
so-
out from the table.
I will
Yeah,
second
we
that
haven't
motion.
moved to bring it off the table yet.
I will make a motion to bring it off the table
Now
for
we have.
consideration.
All right. I will second that motion.
It's been moved and it has a second to bring this item, and the item number is, we know what that is?
I wasn't aware this discussion was going to go on.
Okay.
Yes, it was item 15 from the 2/24/2020 agenda, and it was regarding the health services agreement for inmate health care.
Did it have a particular resolution number?
Document control number, you mean?
Yeah, I don't have that.
19?
191126011.
Thanks, Debbie.
Is there
19
a resolution with that as well?
No,
19-1126-011.
Yes.
Okay,
it was, the
So-
motion was to accept the proposal and execute the contract.
yes.
Thank you.
So we brought it back up on the table, and now we're back at the consideration
Have we
of
voted?
considering the
No,
proposal
We have not voted yet.
and executing the contract.
She's going to
Just a-
vote us. She's
Just
going
a,
to call for a vote.
well, we're in discussion, right? We've had a,
No, she hasn't called the motion yet. I don't think.
all we're doing is bringing it off the table.
Right, it's only coming off the table.
Don't we have a
and the
motion and a second to
to
bring it
take
off
it
the
out.
We do.
table, and don't
Yes.
we then have to
Yes.
Yes,
put on it? Okay.
Roll call, Judy.
Mr. Humphrey,
Aye.
Mrs. Corcoran.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes. Now it is officially back onto the board session. So, I'm, do I have a motion to consider item number 15, went from the, was it 224, Tom?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
At the document control number 19-1126-011 to consider the medical service provider proposal for, is it the adult jail and the juvenile?
No,
Just
the
the
juvenile
adult
was
jail.
already ratified by the,
Okay, the adult jail medical services contract, proposal and follow-on contract.
I make a motion, we approve the contract and proposal as presented.
I will second that motion.
It's been moved and we have a second. Now we're open for discussion. Question. If we want to bid this thing and look at the quality of services and other services providers, what are the requirements if we approve this contract? If we need to get out of this contract January 31st, 2021?
We would just have to provide them notice that we're not going to renew it for another year. I mean, we would
We have
obviously,
120 days to do
for
that,
a
so-
term, correct,
So 120 days back from 2021, January 1st.
correct.
Okay.
Any further conversation or discussion?
No.
Roll call, Judy.
Mr. Humphrey,
Aye.
Mrs. Corcoran,
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes. Thank you. You bet.
Thank you.
I feel better now, Commissioner.
Oh, there he is. He's back there.
And you know,
Worried about that gavel, Commissioner.
the thing is, we just want to understand that, and we just want to have the best medical services that we can. And I think we all want the same thing.
We want a value for our
Yeah,
money.
And you know what? I don't blame you a bit, sir, because that's what we're looking for too.
And I know that, and I know that.
And as you well know, you visited us, and I think this is a wonderful deal.
Right.
They gave us a good deal because they started in 2005, Southern Health Partners. We were their first client in Ohio, and we keep them that way. Another interesting thing, Commissioner, the health commissioner for the county was here and talking about that terrible virus. In January of this year, January, at our jail, Southern Health Partners and myself came to an agreement to screen every inmate, sir. We've been doing it since January.
Nice.
So I just wanted to tell you.
Thank you.
That's
Okay.
the kind of company they are, Commissioners. And I
Thank you for
understand
your
all
work.
you're doing, But thank you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Jen. Anything else, Tom?
I do not have anything else, sir.
Then, board members, we have reached member comment. Any comments today about today's meeting?
Not about today's meeting, but I would like to talk about an event that I attended recently, which is talking about the Imagination Library, Dolly Parton Imagination Library. And it's a very good program, it seems to me. It provides books monthly to children 0 to 5 years old, and that would allow the families to read to their children and have a book a month, and allow the child to learn to read on their own, as I remember I did, by mimicking and memorizing what my parents said and playing it back to them. So I think it would be a great process for the county to be involved in, and I would like to see us do that, but I think we need to investigate how we might do that and at what level we would want to do that.
Yes.
Well, I think there's a good conversation to be had about that. I think the Imaginary Library is, let's talk about as far as a state push. This is a governor's initiative. Yep. It is something that they would like to see happen in all 88 counties. In our particular county, the information that was shared with us yesterday was they're looking for a start of 35% participation. One of the other things that they're trying to do is fundraise, and they are looking at private entities. But here's what I would say. Imaginary Library, the state has stepped forward and said that they will go 50% on the cost of these books. And 50% is about $60,000 that they would put forward. The other $60,000 needs to be matched. I think their match is the first year, what's left of the biennium budget, if I understood that correctly. I think this is something that we could talk for a long time and maybe come to the conclusion, but since we're still in session, I'd make a motion that we would fund this particular initiative at a cost of $60,000, and that we would let the state pick up the next 660. My motion would only be included for the first year of operation to get this particular initiative off the ground, so that we can make it happen without having to worry about the funds to do that. And I'd ask the board to consider that.
I would support that. I'm not going to second the motion at this moment, but I would support that because I think it's a good idea and we should do that. But I would like to explore what what channels we might be able to use of county money to be able to do that. I don't know if there's anything in DJFS or other programs that we could explore to be able to fund that rather than out of the general fund itself.
I can check into that for you.
Okay. That's my only, and so I would bring it back up at the next meeting, and we can even add it to the agenda if we would like to.
There's also a meeting that's being scheduled, and I don't have the date with me right now, but to continue the discussion with board members. And I'd like to point out that Debbie was very gracious to go and sit in on the meeting yesterday. In addition to that, this initiative first came to me because Rebecca Groppe had contact with the First Lady of the state of Ohio. This is her program, her initiative, and her push for children, which I personally think is phenomenal. But Rebecca went out and got all the materials and has a lot of contact with these players. I would like to see where the funding's coming from and how soon they get the 501c3 set up and get more of the details as to all the players in this before we commit any amount of money. And I am open for further discussion on it also. I think it's a great initiative. One of the ideas that Rebecca Groppe had was when these children move and everyone says, well, they can always call in and say we moved. Well, a lot of times people leave because they cannot pay the rent, and they're not going to tell them where they moved to because they're going to follow the parents. And we were hoping there would be a connect with the libraries, that if something like that happened, instead of just having these books stay in limbo that are designated for a particular child, that they would perhaps go to a library and just not be out there and wasted. There's nothing better than reading to your children.
I think that actually a parent can go online and change their address online.
Yes, but I'm saying, for example, you didn't pay your rent and you're going
Yeah.
someplace else, you don't want.
Well, it would
Put your
only be the
address.
Imagination Library in Tennessee that would know where you're going, so I don't know. I don't know how,
I don't know either, but I'm making sure that
Yep,
we,
I
that we
understand.
protect the child and we protect everyone
Yep,
involved.
so there's things we need to learn.
Yes,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay. And we will let that motion die on the table for a lack of a second. Anything else? Then I would ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Could we talk about our schedule for March, our regular sessions for Monday and Wednesday?
We can.
What are the issues?
It's 3:40 on Friday, March 6th, and an agenda would need to be prepared for March 9th meeting, as well as the minutes of this meeting to be prepared for approval there and after. And it would be my recommendation that we cancel the Monday, March 9th meeting and continue on Wednesday, March 11th.
That'd be fine with me.
Then I would put a motion forth to cancel Monday's meeting and divert to Wednesday.
Well, we have a Wednesday meeting anyway, on the
Right.
11th, so.
I mean, to a regular scheduled meeting
Yep.
on Wednesday.
And would we establish another Monday meeting for the 16th, or would just let that one go?
We're done. Those meetings for the first 6 months on the second and fourth Mondays were to accommodate extra sessions of the 50 that are required of the Board of County Commissioners, and is not really necessary, but you can establish a session whenever you
So our
need,
next
have the
session
need.
is the 11th.
It is, if you so say.
I think that'd be fine.
Okay.
So,
I need a second.
I'll second.
It's been moved and we have a second. Any further conversation, discussion to cancel Monday's meeting? Roll call, Judy.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mrs. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. And now I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
second.
It's been moved and received a second. Roll call, Judy.
Mrs. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. And that concludes our meeting for March the 6th, 2020. Thanks for those who attended and thanks for those who watched on the cable channel. We'll see you Wednesday the 11th. Thank you.